Hello everybody, welcome to Edonics. Uh, till now we have discussed a lot of things about Spring Framework and about the features of existing Spring Framework. But all those components and features were a part of the Spring Framework from the very beginning. Today we are going to discuss a very important new topic of Spring Framework. It's known as Spring Boot. It's altogether a new project. Let's see what we are going to explore in this session. First, we will talk about the Spring Framework highlights. It will briefly describe what is there till date in Spring Framework. Then we will talk about Spring Boot overview. Then we will have a discussion about what is the need of Spring Framework. Then we will cover Spring Boot features, Spring Boot benefits, and we will be having a QA session to validate your knowledge. Before we go into the technical details, we can have a look at a pictorial representation of Spring Boot. This will give you an idea where Spring Boot sits and how it is used. It also tells you why it is easier to use from the development perspective. In this picture, the developer is using a very small surface which is known as Spring Boot, which is at the top of this triangle. This is a smaller surface area for the developers to concentrate on. The bottom of the triangle is interacting with the existing Spring Framework, which is the larger Spring Boot system that contains data, integration, batch, web, security, database, and other modules. So the developers do not need to worry about the larger Spring Framework. As a developer, you can only concentrate on the top of this triangle, which is the Spring Boot, and rest will be taken care by the Spring Boot. So, as a developer or the development perspective, you just need to know what is there to start the Spring application and make it production ready in a very short span of time. And the rest of the things will be taken care by the Spring Boot framework as it's shown on the picture. It interacts with the larger Spring ecosystem and then get the required libraries configurations up for you so that you can concentrate on the business logic, not on the boilerplate code. Now we will take a look at the highlights of Spring Framework. To understand the differentiators between the existing Spring Framework and the value addition of Spring Boot, let's have a glimpse of what we are doing and how we are doing with the existing Spring Framework. Then we will check what Spring Boot can do for us. Spring provides features and flexibility to develop modern business applications at an enterprise level. It allows configuration-based approach to control the entire application. It also provides different associated projects like Spring Batch, Spring Security, Spring Integration, Spring Testing Framework to meet the need of modern business applications. But when we think about the configurations like XML, annotations, Java config, etc., to build a simple application, it seems to be a lot of work. So, which is quite mechanical and not relevant to business logic. Now the question is there something which can do all these tasks automatically for us? The answer is Spring Boot. Because we are giving the entire responsibility to the Spring Boot to take care of our boilerplate code and then configure the files, auto-aware the beans, and setting up all the interceptors, all the configurations which are default and required for all Spring applications. And that is taken care by the Spring Boot itself. We do not need to worry about it. We can only concentrate on the coding part. Now let's have a look at what Spring Boot is doing. Spring Boot is a new project from the Spring Boot. It can be thought as a way of making Spring Framework easier and faster to the developers. It provides ways to overcome the issues faced with simple configuration in Spring Framework. And the bottom line is Spring Boot removes boilerplate coding. You don't need to do all the environmental setup. The coding is required to start the bin, coding required to start the server, coding requires to auto-wire the bins. It will be taken care by the Spring Framework itself. Now let's have a look why we need a Spring Boot. Because till date we have Spring Framework with a couple of modules, couple of plugins, and we could have developed a lot of enterprise level applications. Yeah, that's true. We have developed a lot of applications by using Spring Framework. Then what is the requirement or why we need a additional project known as Spring Boot? The answer is to make our life easier, to make the life of developers easier, and to remove the additional coding which is nothing to do with the business logic, it's nothing to do with the application development. Spring Boot makes configuration beans easier and more straightforward. Though Spring Framework existing is popular, but it's difficult proposition because of complications in configuration beans. The most messy part is the XML-based configurations, where you need to understand each tag and remember them to configure your bin, to auto-wire your bin. You need to put the dependencies there, you need to put the IDs there, and then reference those IDs into a different bin and make the complete wiring in the XML itself. Otherwise, it will throw some error. Then you need to understand the XML file again. You need to find out the troubleshoot where that particular XML is wrong, what part you have done wrong, and then fix it and then do it yourself. Spring Boot allows software developers to configure bins automatically, accurately, and fast. So you must have experienced a lot of time you're wasting by wiring the bins. You are missing some IDs, you are missing some auto-wire features, and the entire application has come to a standstill because of a silly mistake into your Spring-based XML configuration file. The code volume in bin configuration is drastically smaller than that in the case of configuration approach provided by Spring. Even if you go for an annotation-based application, annotation-based features, then also you need to remember the annotations. You need to remember the Java config parameters to do the configuration. So all these tasks are taken care of by Spring Framework itself. It manages the dependency. It manages the configuration automatically. It has embedded server containers to support it. So the result is you are having an environment where you have to concentrate on a particular points and do not think about the larger Spring Boot system. Now let's have a look. What are the Spring Boot features which can help us to manage those things easier? You do not waste time manually working on common dependencies like Spring Boot Starter. Spring Boot automatically manages dependencies for you. Automatic configuration of commonly registered bins such as dispatches servlet, resource handlers, and list resources with intelligent default parameters. So this starter thing, if you can understand that a Spring Boot starter, what does it do? It does everything for you. And the important point is that it has some default value which sets automatically by Spring Boot. But you also have an option to override it. So it's nothing binded with Spring Boot. Whenever you are using Spring Boot, it doesn't necessarily that you have to follow the path that Spring Boot provides. You can override those default configurations and make yourself allowed to do whatever you want to do, or keep it the responsibility of the Spring Boot to take care of. It adds required libraries when included, and you don't need to manually add all libraries. So this is another important point which I want to highlight. With the existing Spring Framework, just imagine you need a particular Spring library for a particular component for such as Spring ORM, you want to integrate your application with Hibernate, with iBetis, or any other particular ORM product, you need to have the particular Spring libraries to connect with Hibernate, to connect with any ORM tool. And that you have to do it manually. If you do not get that particular library, it will make your life hell and you cannot configure it. So all these libraries, the configurations that is required for your application is done by the Spring Boot itself. So imagine how much it is easier for you to start a project and make it production ready within a very minimum amount of time. Spring Boot allows the software applications to run on the browser by allowing to create a simple Java class with annotation Spring applications. So that's the beauty of Spring Boot application. You can make standalone applications. You can have a main method in a Java file from which you can start your application. It can be a standalone application. It can be a best application. You can run it on your web because Spring provides default Tomcat web server which can run your project as a web-based application, or you can run from a command prompt. You can make a jar and then deploy it. You can make a war and then deploy it into your application server. It doesn't restrict anything, but it gives you more features to help you to make your application easy. Now, this is a part where we need to understand what are the benefits that this particular framework is giving, that particular new project is giving. Spring Boot makes configuration easier. Traditional beans need to be configured manually, but Spring Boot does it automatically. Not only for the beans, but also for the libraries. You do not need to worry about the dependencies. Spring takes care of this thing. Because in Spring Framework, there are a lot of jars, there are a lot of libraries which depends on other libraries. Just imagine you were just downloading all these libraries manually, all these dependencies manually, and it will kill your time and you concentrate less on your application development. You are wasting a lot of time to set up your environment, to make your Spring environment ready to deploy your applications, to write your applications. So the amount of time that you are wasting on these things has been totally removed by the Spring Boot. It drastically reduces the code because there is no XML. The XML based configuration is not in there. It's completely removed in Spring Boot. It provides embedded server container. Embedded spontaneous is the developer could just start up in Java class and an annotation so that the application can run on the browser. So that's the beauty of Spring Framework. So that's all about the Spring. But before we move into the hands-on part or developing a particular application, we need to understand the goal of this project, this entire new project. The goal is to avoid XML configurations completely, avoid defining more annotation configuration, just eliminate writing boilerplate codes, quick start new projects, allow opinionated development approach, give a developer friendly environment to start working with Spring Framework immediately, and then concentrate only on the business logic, not on the configuration, not on the supporting stuff, or not on the boilerplate code. So that's what Spring Boot provides. So it helps a lot. It helps in rapid application development. It helps in moving our application into production ready stage within a very minimum amount of time. So nowadays, most of the applications are developed as a Spring Boot application. And then the jar is deployed, or maybe you can create a war and deploy it. Nobody is stopping. Or if you have some custom requirement, you just overwrite the Spring Boot configurations and make it the way you want it to be. So that's all about the theoretical part, the conceptual part of Spring Boot. Hope it will help you to understand it completely. Then we will have practical examples of how we are doing Spring Boot. Just have a look at the questions and answers, which will clarify your doubts and validates your knowledge.